On a serene Sunday afternoon, back in October 2015, 18-year-old Zoe Hastings embarked on what was supposed to be a routine trip to attend her Bible study session in Dallas, Texas. Her parents, Jim and Cheryl, anticipated her return home for their customary family dinner. Zoe, a recent graduate with her sights set on an upcoming mission trip, was brimming with excitement for the journey ahead. The Bible study class held that afternoon was not just another gathering but a pivotal session, essential for her preparations and guidance for the forthcoming mission. Setting off from her residence after 4:30 p.m. in the family minivan, Zoe assured her parents of her timely return, pegged around 6:30 p.m. However, as the clock struck 6:30 p.m., there was no sign of Zoe, triggering concern in her family. It was highly unusual for her to miss their cherished family dinners, prompting her parents to reach out to her via text and calls, all in vain. Their worry compounded when they discovered that Zoe hadn't even attended the scheduled 5 p.m. Bible study class, contrary to their expectations. With each passing hour, anxiety mounted, leading Jim and Cheryl to contact the authorities at 10 p.m. However, as midnight approached, their wait for law enforcement stretched on, forcing them to take matters into their own hands by filing a missing persons report and continuing the search independently. In the wee hours of Monday morning, a glimmer of hope emerged as they remembered Zoe's phone had the Find My iPhone app installed. A beacon of possibility amidst uncertainty, the app revealed Zoe's phone location, guiding her parents to a nearby creek just minutes away from their home. Their hearts raced as they approached the scene, only to be met by a flurry of activity. Bright lights pierced through the night as emergency responders worked diligently, cordoning off the area with police tape. Amidst the commotion, paramedics tended to a situation that held the key to Zoe's whereabouts, leaving her family on edge, praying for her safety and well-being. They were informed that a vehicle had been involved in a crash Zoe's minivan discovered with its nose down in the creek bed, nearly vertical. The police had been alerted by a passerby named Arnhem, who was out walking his dog when he encountered a man running toward him. The man urgently informed Arnhem about the crash, indicating that a car and a girl were down in the creek near the intersection of Easton Road and Lippett Avenue. Arnhem accompanied the man to the creek where he was informed of the girl's tragic passing. Kurt acted swiftly by dialing 911, while the others present departed before help arrived. When asked about the man's demeanor, Arnhem noted that he seemed visibly shaken. Law enforcement later arrived at the creek and discovered the lifeless body of the girl, identified as Zoe. She was found lying face down in a pool of blood, around 10 to 20 feet from the minivan's driver's door. Zoe's parents were informed of her demise, with authorities confirming that her death was not due to the accident, but rather a result of homicidal violence. Zoe's clothing showed signs of interference, suggesting possible sexual assault, and her throat had been viciously slashed multiple times. During a search of the area, a blood-stained knife was found at the top of the embankment near the minivan where Zoe's body was discovered. And police believe that the knife found was the weapon used to inflict Zoe's fatal neck wounds. Zoe's phone provided police with a timeline to work with. According to location services data on her phone, it was at the creek from 5 p.m. on Sunday evening until the Monday morning when Zoe's body was discovered. As the investigation unfolded, a crucial piece of Zoe's last moments fell into place. After leaving her home, she had made a routine stop at the nearby Walgreens on Garland Road to return a Redbox movie before heading to her Bible study. The proximity of the Walgreens to her house was such that Zoe could even see her residence from the parking lot. However, the mundane errand took a sinister turn. Two witnesses came forward, shedding light on the events that transpired in that parking lot. The first witness recounted seeing an African-American man swiftly approach Zoe, both of them entering the minivan before speeding off. The second witness provided a chilling account of the man brandishing something in his hand before they drove away at alarming speed. The discovery of DNA evidence linking Antonio Cochran to the crime added weight to the suspicion surrounding him. Despite his denials, the prosecution moved forward with charges of capital murder against him, alleging Zoe's death occurred during a kidnapping or attempted kidnapping. Major Max Jaron of the Dallas Police Department characterized Antonio as a dangerous sexual predator who posed a threat to the community. Police concluded that Zoe's abduction was a random attack, with no prior connection between her and Antonio. As the trial commenced, Antonio maintained his plea of not guilty. The prosecution's narrative centered on Zoe's routine departure from home to attend Bible study, with the Walgreens stop turning into a pivotal moment where tragedy struck. The two witnesses who saw Zoe's encounter with Antonio in the parking lot became key figures in the courtroom, providing crucial testimony to piece together the sequence of events leading to Zoe's abduction and untimely demise. The first witness, Lester Lee Clark, testified that he worked as a tattoo artist at a parlor near the intersection of Garland Road and PV Road in East Dallas. He mentioned that he was walking towards the Walgreens store around 4:45 p.m. to purchase a pack of cigarettes. During the trial, another perspective emerged as witnesses took the stand to recount the events they observed at the Walgreens parking lot that fateful Sunday afternoon. Lester, one of the witnesses, vividly described seeing a woman, presumably Zoe, either returning a movie or using the red box kiosk before heading back to her minivan. His attention was drawn when a short, heavy-set African-American man swiftly approached her as she reached for the car door. Lester noted their brief but intense interaction, though unable to discern the content of their conversation due to the distance. Within moments, the woman shifted to the passenger seat, and the man took the driver's seat, driving off abruptly. When questioned about why he didn't intervene, Lester admitted he assumed they were a couple, not realizing the danger unfolding before his eyes. The second witness, Gary Whitman, shared his perspective as someone who was homeless at the time, providing a different angle to the scene. He recounted seeing a stout, heavy-set African-American man, around 5 feet 8 or 9 inches tall, approaching a woman by a minivan in the Walgreens parking lot. Gary noted the man's cautious yet assertive demeanor, suggesting he was trying to avoid drawing attention while approaching the woman. Their testimonies painted a chilling picture of Zoe's encounter with her assailant, offering valuable insight into the sequence of events leading up to her abduction. As Gary took the stand, his testimony added a chilling layer to the unfolding narrative. He described witnessing the man, later identified as Antonio, approach Zoe from behind as she attempted to enter her minivan. Antonio's arms extended, blocking any chance of escape for Zoe, while Gary noted a movement suggesting he retrieved something from his pocket, though the exact object remained unclear. In a swift yet calculated maneuver, both Zoe and Antonio entered the minivan before speeding off, leaving Gary to grapple with the urgency of seeking help without access to a phone. Turning to a convenience store employee for assistance, Gary implored them to call 911, his actions underscoring the gravity of the situation he had just witnessed. The prosecution meticulously built their case, connecting the dots between Antonio and the crime scene through DNA analysis. Mitochondrial DNA evidence, while not providing a definitive match to Antonio, couldn't exclude him either, strengthening the prosecution's assertion of his involvement. Further forensic examination revealed damning evidence linking Antonio to the creek where Zoe's lifeless body was found. The knife discovered at the scene bore traces of both Zoe's blood and Antonio's DNA on the handle, cementing the prosecution's narrative of a heinous abduction, sexual assault, and murder. Zoe's mother, Cheryl, bravely took the stand, recounting the gut-wrenching moment when they arrived at the creek, only to be met with the devastating news of her daughter's passing. Her testimony painted a poignant picture of the unimaginable loss and the profound impact it had on their family. Cheryl's subsequent revelation of her role as a sexual assault trauma nurse underscored the tragic irony of Zoe's fate and the deep personal resonance it held within their family. The court heard that cell phone data placed Antonio at the scene prior to Zoe's abduction. Antonio sent a number of text messages to various people at 1:48 a.m. on the Sunday. At 2:07 p.m., he messaged Gillies Pina, his housemate, stating that he was moving out of the house. He then texted Angie Simon, his ex-girlfriend, informing her of Rena's passing, whom he referred to as a mother figure. Further texts were sent at 2:25 p.m. and 3:19 p.m. to Mimi, where he mentioned driving, drinking, and crying. At 4:34 p.m. on Sunday, Antonio's cell phone communicated with a specific transceiver on a radio tower in Dallas, covering the area including the Walgreens store. Just after 9:30 p.m. on Sunday night, Antonio sent a text message to Frank Torres, Gillies Pina's brother, expressing his need for support. He wrote, "I really need you, bro. I don't know what to do. I'm not well, Frank. Too much has happened. I need you, bro." The court heard that Antonio had recently begun working as a checker at a Fiesta Mart grocery store, just 2 days before Zoe's murder. Although scheduled to work the day after Zoe's death, he failed to show up for that shift. That night, he sent a text message at 9:35 p.m. to Angie Simon, stating, "No, I was for you and my life is over. We'll find out soon enough, sick." The courtroom drama intensified as details emerged regarding Antonio's online activity and the nature of Zoe's injuries. Web searches on Antonio's phone revealed a spike in interest in local news and crime, with a notable focus on Zoe's death. This newfound curiosity sharply contrasted with his previous online behavior, raising eyebrows and casting suspicion on his involvement. Despite Zoe's tragic injuries, the testimony of Chief Medical Examiner Dr. Jeffrey Barnard surprised many as he found no evidence of sexual assault. This unexpected revelation threw a curveball into the proceedings, challenging the prosecution's narrative and prompting questions about the direction of the case. In the face of mounting evidence, the defense launched a vigorous counterattack. Attorney Paul Johnson seized unperceived weaknesses in the prosecution's case, arguing that Antonio was wrongly targeted based on flimsy DNA evidence and unreliable witness testimonies. Paul dissected the testimony of the 2 witnesses who claimed to have seen Zoe's abduction. Lester's account faced scrutiny over inconsistencies in the timeline and description of the assailant, while Gary's credibility was called into question due to his criminal history and drug use. Paul cast doubt on Gary's ability to accurately observe the events, given his location across the street from the Walgreens parking lot. Despite facing potential repercussions, Gary stood by his decision to come forward, emphasizing his commitment to doing the right thing. However, his cooperation with the court led to his arrest due to an active warrant, further complicating an already tangled web of legal proceedings. The defense launched a vigorous attack on the DNA evidence, seeking to sow seeds of doubt in the minds of the jury. While acknowledging Antonio's DNA presence on the knife handle, they argued it could have been innocently transferred prior to Zoe's murder. Antonio's identification as a suspect stemmed from this DNA match against several profiles in the system, leading to his arrest. The nature of the DNA, identified as touch or handler DNA, was crucial. Although subsequent testing confirmed Antonio's match, the defense posited scenarios where his DNA could have been innocently left behind, perhaps from handling knives during his employment at a local movie theater. The defense painted a scenario where someone else could have used the knife post-Antonio's contact, leaving no additional DNA traces. This argument was bolstered by the absence of fingerprints both inside and outside the minivan, raising questions about the veracity of witness claims regarding Antonio's alleged involvement. Furthermore, the defense emphasized the medical examiner's testimony, which revealed no evidence of sexual assault. They argued that the prosecution's mention of sexual assault was a manipulative tactic to sway the jury emotionally, highlighting that Antonio was not charged with such a crime. In his closing remarks, defense attorney Paul urged the jury to uphold the principle of innocent until proven guilty. He implored them to make the difficult but just decision by finding Antonio not guilty, reminding them of the weight of their responsibility and the importance of adhering to their duty. Conversely, the prosecution pushed for a guilty verdict, urging the jury to consider the totality of evidence presented. The jury, grappling with the complexities of the case, deliberated for nearly 23 hours over several days, seeking clarity and guidance from the judge as they weighed the fate of Antonio and the quest for justice for Zoe. As the jury deliberated, they sought further clarification on crucial aspects of the case. They requested to review a picture of the Walgreens store where Zoe was last seen, indicating their desire to understand the scene of the crime more vividly. Additionally, they delved into the intricacies of mitochondrial DNA and inquired about the timeline of police interviews with the key witnesses who testified to seeing Antonio with Zoe at her minivan. After careful consideration, the jury delivered their verdict. Antonio was found guilty of murder, a lesser charge than the initial capital murder. Surprisingly, it took them only 6 minutes to reach this decision, reflecting the weight of evidence presented during the trial. The courtroom fell silent as the judge pronounced Antonio's sentence: life in prison without the possibility of parole, coupled with a substantial fine of $10,000. This verdict marked the culmination of a tumultuous legal battle and provided a sense of closure for Zoe's loved ones, albeit amidst enduring grief and loss. Following Zoe's death, her family issued a statement expressing their devastation. "We were devastated at the loss of our daughter Zoe. Today, we express our gratitude to local law enforcement officials and loved ones for assisting our family during this difficult time. Zoe was full of life, love, and light. She was immensely talented, happy, and joyful. She was deeply loved by her parents and siblings. Zoe had a strong love for the Lord Jesus Christ and a passion for serving others. She had plans to serve a mission to share the message of the Savior's love with others. While it pains us that her life was taken, we find comfort in knowing that our family is eternal and that we will be reunited someday. We appreciate the privacy and respect given to us during this extremely difficult time. Please continue to pray for our family. Your support is deeply appreciated and much needed." After the trial, it was discovered that Antonio had a prior criminal record, with past arrests and convictions for offenses such as assault, theft, and burglary. In February 2014, he faced charges in Bowie County, Texas, related to an incident involving the alleged rape of a teenage girl in a car. During the trial, a 17-year-old girl testified that Antonio, who had a relationship with her mother, offered her a ride on February 12, 2014. She recounted how he threatened her during the car ride and took her to a secluded area where the assault occurred. Observant residents in the vicinity noticed suspicious behavior and promptly contacted emergency services, leading to Antonio's arrest. Despite the defense's claim that the encounter was consensual, he was acquitted in the trial held in January 2015.